Hey everyone, Bob WP here, and today we are looking at A2 hosting, one of the many hosts out there, and I've reviewed a few of them. This one is a host that's been around a while, so you know that they're going to be sticking around a while, and that I know from several colleagues and friends I have that they highly recommend A2 hosting, and that it does have quite a bit of variety as far as what you are able to choose as far as a hosting plan. We're, of course, going to be looking at WordPress here. We're on their site. So let's just dive right in here and kind of see what they have to offer. If we scroll down, you'll see that, of course, like many hosts, they have different levels here. We're going to look at the shared hosting here. And for this particular review, I'll be looking at the Turbo plan, which is this one here, starting at $9.31 a month. Of course, you have some other options here as well, depending on your site. So you're going to need to decide what is right for you. But what this does is this does have this Turbo up to 20 times faster. So there's a lot more performance enhanced features that will give you better performance, and you're able to optimize your site more for quicker load speed, etc., etc. We'll be going through some of that, and you'll see that if I go in here and I say get Turbo, we're just going to click through here because I want to show you something, and we're going to just put in a domain here. I've already actually set up my account, but we're going to just check to see if that's available. Once that happens, then you are able to choose how many months you want and stuff, but they have some configurable options. What that means is some add-ons here. You can get an SSL certificate, you can get priority support or not. You can choose if you want space for drop site, off-site backups. And then Performance Plus, no, yes. And down here, you can choose a spam firewall, again, SSL certificate, and then we, of course, have WordPress A2 optimized. We don't want to do any of these others. So once we click through purchase, WordPress will be installed automatically. Now, once you've ordered this, you're going to get a few welcome emails. One of the emails actually has a lot of information in it. It has a lot of links to your FTP and your creating email accounts and all that good stuff. So in a nice compact email, you'll get all that information. But you'll also be able to log into A2 hosting. And once you do that, you end up on your client homepage where a lot of stuff is pretty straightforward. You can see what, how many domains, how many tickets, what invoices you have, etc., etc. You have all of this up here. The domains, the billing, the support, open ticket, your account. One of the things you will notice that A2 hosting, like any good host, has the options of live chat, of calling for support, and then opening a ticket. So you're able to do, if you have a certain way, if you prefer phone calls, if you prefer tickets, I prefer chat. So the fact that you have all those options is great. Now, the other thing is often when you want to sign into your cPanel with all the other settings that are actually on A2 hosting, you have to go to another URL and log in and everything. But here you just simply click on this and you'll end up on your cPanel. And of course, this is pretty typical of a cPanel. All the stuff you get, I'm obviously not going to go through all this, but you'll see that you have a variety of features and options here. Now, if you've ever been with a host that has a cPanel, sometimes they can be very confusing and it's hard to find things. I kind of like the layout of this cPanel, even though, again, there's a lot of options, which is typically what most cPanels have. At least it's a little easier to find things. It's laid out a little nicer. It's, the icons, everything's clearly visible. So it's not quite as un-user friendly as some cPanels that I've seen. So you have these two areas on A2 hosting, But all the things that you get as far as features and options with the performance optimization is actually all inside your WordPress dashboard. So the benefit of that, of course, is there's a lot of settings that you'll be able to do while you're in the dashboard, and you're not have to go back and forth to A2 hosting account and then to your dashboard in order to do those settings. So if we pop over into my install here, you'll see that we've got this A2 optimized. It's going to tell me my optimization status, and it's going to check everything that's been configured and give you a brief description what's going on with that. So if you don't really quite understand it, you can read that and know that, hey, this does exactly that. And then, of course, you can learn more or disable at any point. And then, again, a lot of this is to do with site optimization as far as load speed, especially things like this minify HTML pages, minify CSS files, the caching, all that stuff has to do with that. And that's why these features are built in. And then if I go down here, you'll see that there's a couple things that I don't have activated, so I could activate those as well. And if I go back up here, you'll see that I have some warnings. What I like about this is it shows you a lot of the WordPress default settings that could cause your site to slow down, basically. So here's recent post limit, RSS post limit. They're saying maybe you have too many of them. And what I really like is the fact that it tells you that you have inactive plugins and unused themes. And that can not only be an issue for not so much speed, but security. So they're kind of telling you all this stuff and letting you know, hey, get in there and optimize your site, clean it up for both speed and security, which kind of often goes hand in hand. So these are always here, and you can come in and check those out, and then you can click on and it'll actually take you to that setting within WordPress to configure it. You can add some advanced optimizations as well if you choose to do that. Cloudflare, two-factor authentication. And what's interesting is a couple of these, it says the P3 plugin will slow down your site. So they're actually saying this isn't activated, but if you do activate it, it'll slow down your site. And you're probably thinking, well, that's crazy. But this is something you're going to use to check the performance. Learn something like, for example, this one will tell you what plugins are taking the longest time to load. You can fix those, and then you can deactivate this plugin. So you're not going to run this plugin forever and ever. And that's why they're warning you that it will slow down your site if you keep it active when you don't need to keep it active. So a nice reminder. And then about A2 Optimized, again, telling you a little bit more about the features and what they do. You may not understand some of this stuff, so at least gives you a brief description. You don't have to go to their site and go through their documentation. You can read it right here. Now, when you install through A2 and you have that auto install, it's going to install some plugins, and I'll just show you what those are real quick. Going to install this A2 Optimized WP, Clef, EWWW Image Optimizer Jetpack, Rename WP Login, and W3 Total Cache. And that's what a lot of these settings I'll be showing you here momentarily are the result of these plugins being installed. And that's where that optimization comes in. So one thing is they're actually recommending, hey, we're installing these plugins because this is part of your hosting and what's going to make your site better and faster. And if we go down to performance here, you're going to see that we have a whole bunch of stuff here. Now, we could go through every one of those and talk about every setting, and we'd be here for hours, and we're not going to do that. But let me just click on three of them just to show you a few things. So if we go to the dashboard, we have some quick things we can do here. Performance compatibility check. There's times you may need to empty all your caches. So you can do those easily right here. One of the things you will find that on every one of these pages that it says this site has been configured using A2 Optimized plugin. They spent quite a bit of time figuring out how this works best, but you are able to go in and make these changes if you know what you're doing. Now I kind of added that last part. What they're saying is all of these settings here, they went in and preset them to work the best after their own experiences. They know what they're doing. So most users that probably use A2 hosting will hardly ever go into any of these because they'll be overwhelmed. And if you don't know what you're doing, you might screw something up. So that fact that this message is up there to kind of remind you not to go crazy with all these settings is very good. Secondly, what's nice about having these all in here is if your site needs something specific, if there's an issue or something that either because you're experienced in all this stuff, somebody that works with you knows, or whoever, maybe even A2 support says, go into your settings here, change this. This will help with that particular issue. So you're able to go in and do all that. So it's kind of if you don't know what you're doing, don't touch it. They've set it up the way it is. But if you start seeing some issues, somebody that you know and trust, whether it's your hosting, whether it's somebody you work with, says that there needs to be a fix, then you can go in and find out where to put that fix. If we go into general settings, just to give you a couple ideas here, and I scroll down, you're going to see that yep, we do have a lot of settings here. More and more than you can even imagine. And if we go into any of these, the next one, for example, again, quite a few settings. Boxes checked, boxes unchecked. So again, by default, they've set it up to give you the best performance. If you need to change it, you can. If you want to see exactly what each one of these offer as far as options, if you are on the post, you'll see all the screenshots below, so you can visually go through those and see what's available. And if you're watching this video on YouTube or somewhere else, click on the link and go to our post, and you can also see those screen options, because I'm not going to kind of scroll through every one of them because I don't know how fast to do it, and you'd probably miss something anyway and say, oh, I wanted to see that. Bob went by too fast. So we are going to show you screenshots of all those instead. That is basically it. There's, it's a hosting with a lot of options, a lot of performance optimization, and as I said, A2 is a trusted source with a lot of people, and they've been around a long time. So if you are looking for hosting, say you're starting a new site and you've been shopping around, you might want to check out A2 Hosting. Contact them, ask some questions, figure out if it's a right match for you, or if you're thinking, hey, my host isn't quite doing what I was hoping it would do, I need somebody new, check out A2. So until next time, take care.